The new Land Rover Defender family continues to grow, both in terms of the number of units and the size offered, because right beside me here we have the new Land Rover Defender 130, and that's what we're going to take a look at on the latest Novak report. So under the hood of this Defender 130, the first edition is the P400 that we've seen before, but with a bit of a twist. It is, so you've got your 3-liter inline turbocharged V6, but paired with a 48-volt mild hybrid system. It's a bit of a twist there. The total output is 395 horsepower, 406 pound-feet of torque. It is paired to an 8-speed ZF automatic transmission, so nothing new or spectacular there, save for the addition of the mild hybrid. The V8 that you see in the 110 is not available in the 130, nor are we seeing anything at this time with respect to electrification. No hybrids, no plug-in hybrids. That's coming, but right now we just have the P400. I believe the P300 is available as well with lower output. Not sure whether it's Canada or the US, but right now we're just looking at the P300, 400 overall. In terms of fuel economy, the combined fuel economy rating for this P400 is 12.4 liters per 100 kilometers. That works out to 19 US miles per gallon. I will say I've generally been on or around that number all week, so I'll take that to be pretty true. All Land Rovers are known to be capable on and off-road, and this is no different. This 130 with all Defender trims have as standard their intelligent all-wheel drive system, as well as a standard electronic air suspension. That's going to lift you up about 2.8 inches on the front, 2.9 on the back. It's all controlled easily, and it's, again, standard. For off-road terrain, you're going to get, when you have your air suspension maxed out, 11.6 inches of ground clearance. And of course, you've got Land Rover's advanced terrain response system through controls here. You can set it to a variety of conditions. I mean, it's all here. One of the only things about the 130 that's a bit of a drawback is because of the extension in the back, your launch departure angles are a bit altered. But I mean, are you really going to be taking this thing in the most brutal terrain with a vehicle like this? Probably not, but that's just something to keep in mind. I mean, really, the combination of what Land Rovers are is really this sort of hybrid system of luxury and utility. So it's always been a popular draw. It's almost like it's the right type of vehicle for those city slickers who, well, let's just say they like to get out there. We almost call it maybe the lattes and landscapes crowd. I mean, I live in the city too, right? So kind of playing that role, why not? When we do reviews, we tend to focus on the big things, but sometimes it's little small things that get noticed and we forget to put them in because we're so focused on the other stuff. But one of the little things that I noticed with this Defender is when you turn off the ignition, the wiper blades elevate just an inch or two. And it seems weird. You're thinking, well, is it stuck on the motor? But no, it's actually a really good idea because, you know, in moments of snow, it doesn't allow your blades to get frozen down below, and it makes it easier to clear. It's a little thing that you don't really notice, and I might not remember to put it in a review, but I'm going to do it this time because I like the idea of it. When you see the Land Rover Defender family, you see 90, 110, 130. It's basically small, medium, and large, and those numbers equate to the wheelbase more or less. The 90 is a 3-door, and the 110, which we relaunched in 2021, is a 5-door, and this is a stretch version of that with an extra 13.5 inches of rear overhang to make room for a full regular-sized third row so that adults can sit in as well. And overall, again, this is just a big, boxy, noteworthy type of vehicle. It has a presence. It's 17.5 feet long from front to back, so it definitely gets noticed when you're driving around in this thing. When we say 3-door or 5-door, we're talking about the fifth not being a lift gate. It's actually an open door, and it has the full-size tire on the back. So the end result is this thing is really heavy. It's not so easy to close. So if you're, not very strong, just bear in mind when you give this a go, I mean, you got to give it a big push because that thing isn't light. With a big boxy design like these Defenders have, one of the benefits is you have lots of interior space and headroom. There's over 40 inches of headroom inside here, so that's great for tall people. And it's also good when the shot is framed like this to put something up there to remind you that if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. And if you are, make sure you're ringing the bell so that you're notified every time I upload something new. See, not that space, that works. With a stretched out wheelbase, of course, now inside we have comfortable seating for 8 people, and that includes in the third row and including for adults. So when you get in there into that third row, as I've tried, it is comfortable enough for me to sit in. The challenge, of course, is getting in. It's not easy to get in because the second row is a bench seat. You can only sort of slide it forward on the rails. Sometimes you get into these 3-row vehicles with captain's chairs and they sort of flip over each other, giving a greater entrance. It's a tight fit, man. I kind of struggle to get in. And then, of course, I struggle to get out. So that's a problem. But once you're in, it's pretty good. And the other really good thing about the third row, in addition to having quad climate control so you can keep yourself to the right temperature there's heated seats in the third row. You almost never see that back there. And it's unfortunate because, you know, usually that third row is more for kids and they get sort of nothing back there except something uncomfortable. And even if they're tall, their knees are in their chin. But no, it's a regular size. Adults could sit there, and in the wintertime, their bums are even warm. The overall look up front here is, you know, rather modern, simplistic, but somewhat understated. It's not overly flashy. There's not giant screens. You've got your one center screen here, the 11.8 inch center touch screen, and the interface is not too bad. I mean, the visuals are clear. I don't like the fact that there's no haptic feedback, and sometimes you got to stretch to reach. And trust me, if you're not going to have buttons for everything, which we seem to be finding less of, you got to have some kind of haptic feedback so at least you know where you're at. As for your controls, that actually are buttons here just below for climate and for things like your driving terrains. Once again, Land Rover uses the knobs where you have to either push down. So if I want to get my heated seats, I just to push it down and rotate. You can actually select with the knobs. It can be used for selecting your drive modes or for the fan speed or your temperatures. The driver information system is good. The visuals are clear. It's not, I mean, you can customize and program it, but it's not overwhelming. One of the upgrades is to the Meridian sound system in this first edition, and it might be an upgrade, but I'm not that impressed. It hasn't sounded as good as I expected it to. There's lots of spaces here in the Defender to put things, and I guess as a utilitarian type of vehicle, that's good. Lots of, I mean, you got your cup holders here, but there's cargo below. There's even cargo space behind your touchscreen, just about in the glove side compartment on the passenger side, and the ambient lighting works well too. The Defender just on this passenger side here is nicely illuminated at night. Now there's wireless charging here, and both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto do connect wirelessly or wired as well. But with the wires, there's both USB-A and C here. And then my kids still have older iPhones because I can't afford to get them newer ones. And so they still have the USB-A connector. So they were happy about that because we have more and more vehicles just going to USB-C. Cargo space is decent. I mean, it should be. This is a big vehicle. When you have all 3 rows of seats up, there's 13.7 cubic feet of space behind that third row. I mean, that's not great, but all vehicles in this category seem to be like that. Prioritize passengers. There's not a lot of room for cargo. If you put the third row seats down, then you've got 43.5 cubic feet of cargo space. Put the second and third row seats down, you're up to 80.9 cubic feet. And that's good. The only problem I have, though, is the seats do not fold flat. So it's kind of awkward if you're trying to get things in for maximum height. Just bear that in mind. I mean, this is long enough to sleep in, but I wouldn't sleep in it with these 2 row seats down because it's not very even. You need some kind of support. What is good, though, is if you needed to load something and the height is awkward for you, the air suspension can be controlled by 2 buttons at the back, so you can lower the rear to have it easier for loading stuff up. And that's a good feature. The Defender nameplate with Land Rover has lots of DNA and history to it, and the new Defender carries it forward in a bit of a different packaging. And now with this 130, a stretched out version, there's even room for 8 comfortably to take you in comfort in those off-road trails, should you want to do so, in a $100,000 vehicle. But I enjoyed driving it for this week, and I hope you enjoyed this review. That's it for now. Thanks for watching the Novak Report. We'll see you next time.